Back to Dot Life, Dorchester's very own podcast, hyper-local podcast, that is, with news, analysis, commentary, sports, Buffalo Bills talk occasionally, but not this week because Aaron Caldwell is still traveling, not with us this week. So once again, you're stuck with me, Bill Forry, editor of the Dorchester Reporter, and for now, temporary host of the news segment of Dot Life Pod. There are other segments on this one, so stick around. But I am joined with reinforcements, thank goodness. We have two of our illustrious veteran reporters around the table here to help me out and dissect this week's news from Dorchester and from around Boston, actually. We're going to talk about a number of things. But first, let me introduce my distinguished guests here. First of all, to my immediate left, reporter, correspondent, veteran, Bay State Banner editor, Yawu Miller is here. From the flip side, his latest effort and his new organization that's a great thing to subscribe to. Check out flipside.com.
Flipside.net.
.net.
Flipsidenews.net.
My bad. Okay, flipsidenews.net. Yawu, welcome back. This is your sophomore edition of Dot Life Pod. Seth Daniel is no stranger to Dot Life, the news editor of the Dorchester Reporter. Seth, thanks again for coming back.
My pleasure.
And I said no football talk. I said no Bills talk, but we'll talk briefly about the Patriots since, this is the format of this podcast, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
They did okay last weekend.
Yeah, we enjoyed watching them. They've become a joy to watch again. And do we talk about the playoffs?
I don't think we're talking about that just yet.
I'm thinking about it because it looks like they could be there.
Yeah, I would say so too. And, my Boston College Eagles continue to just implode. So I'm all aboard the Drake May and company train.
Sundays for football, Saturday for crying.
Yeah, well, are you paying any attention to NFL at all?
None whatsoever. Okay. We don't even have a TV in the house.
Well, so you're completely immersed in the Boston city election and District 7 in particular, and we'll probably get to that a little bit later in the show. We're also going to talk about several things this week that are in the headlines of the Reporter. We're going to start with the chaos, really, at the district court level that's going on not only in Dorchester but across the Commonwealth, but particularly in Dorchester lately. And Seth did a bang-up job this week covering a pretty dramatic hearing in a Boston courtroom, and we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes here. We're going to talk about Kearney Hospital. There was a big meeting last night in Lower Mills to discuss what's next, possibly at that 12-acre campus on Dorchester Avenue. We're going to talk about the Franklin Park White Stadium situation, which is still unfolding in courtrooms. And Yawu Miller was on top of that story, as he always is. We're going to get into a little Halloween preview. And also, we do have an election coming up, so we're going to talk about some of the city council at large and D7 races that are about to culminate on November 4th. But first, let's start with, I mentioned it at the top, is chaos the right word to describe what's going on at the moment here, Seth? How would you describe the situation in Boston's courtrooms right now?
Almost beyond that, it's unthinkable. I mean, for those of us who've been in a courtroom for whatever reason, it's very mundane. There's procedures. If you're charged, you're going to have your day in court, but it's no longer the case. Mm-hmm. This was something that started a while back, and it's all because of public defenders and bar advocates who are, if you don't have the money for a lawyer, you're guaranteed a lawyer in our system. And those folks have been, particularly the bar advocates, have been asking for more money. The state's given them a little, but not what they asked for. So the problem is still ongoing, despite what was celebrated as a victory over the summer in a piece of legislation that they said was going to fix it all. Well, it didn't fix it all. And
we found out this week, really, that it's kind of gotten worse in some respects. Yeah. And to take a step back, we're talking about really a work stoppage that began in May with specifically the bar advocate community, which these are private attorneys who agree to take on public defender cases kind of on an ad hoc basis, and they get paid by the case to do that at a pretty low, below market rate, for lawyers anyways.
Right.
So their work stoppage, was really peaked in the summertime. But even this past week, what really triggered your story this week, Seth, was we became aware of the fact that there were hundreds of cases about to go before the Central Division of the Boston Municipal Court to dismiss hundreds of cases, including people who have been charged with assault and batteries and things like, not minor things like, carrying high capacity firearms illegally on the streets of Boston. There were a couple of people mentioned in your article who were arrested and charged with illegal gun possession at the Caribbean Carnival in August. And the thing that people should understand is these men and women who've been arrested and charged haven't had any access to an attorney or counsel, some of them for months. And now this hearing that happened that you covered on Tuesday was a judge saying, okay, the time has elapsed. We have to, fish or cut bait on these cases.
Right.
And in almost every case, they cut bait. They dismiss these cases.
Yeah. Almost, there were 212 from Dorchester alone, which is the majority. And it seems like, as we pointed out in our story, Dorchester is getting the short end of the stick. It seems like some of the other jurisdictions, other district courts, they might have lawyers who are taking cases. If something's egregious, they don't want to let it slip by. But it's not happening at Dorchester Court, and they seem to be getting on that list for dismissal, and they went through one by one for hours, dismissed without prejudice. And they were bad charges. We mentioned the one about child molestation. That was dismissed. There was one, a number of them, which were assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, the gun cases, many gun cases. There was the one gun case where the mother, she had a legal gun, but she threatened her children with the gun. Maybe they didn't clean their room. I'm not sure what they did, but that got dismissed.
Crazy stuff. And, we should note that the prosecutors, even if these cases have been dismissed, can refile these cases and bring charges against these, these alleged wrongdoers in the future. But there's a backlog here, and it's creating it's been a pressure across the Commonwealth. But Yawu, I guess last we left this back in August, it seemed as though the legislature and the governor had come to an arrangement with some of the bar advocates, and were hopefully bringing on some new full-time public defenders who work for an agency called CPCS. They take on the bulk of the public defender work in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I mean, we're calling it a work stoppage. And what's really happening is, like, if you had a plumber and you called the plumber over and they charge $80 an hour and you're saying, I'm giving you 60, they might do that for a while and then say, hey, look, my rate's 80 and you keep paying them 60, so they're going to go work somewhere else. Essentially, that's what these attorneys are doing, is that they're just saying, we can't live off of this. You don't pay a plumber what you're paying us. You pay plumbers more than you're paying us, and we can't live off of this. We need to find other work, which is what they're doing.
Right.
The legislature it seemed like a half measure. It wasn't what they asked. It wasn't, and it was like over time as well. I don't remember the specific numbers, but
they were going from like $60 an hour to like 70 and then maybe 80 after a year and a half or two. So it certainly was far from what the bar advocate community was asking for.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just going to get tougher if the budget takes a beating from what the feds are doing, et cetera. So
we asked the DA's office to react to what happened on Tuesday. DA Kevin Hayden's office, and a spokesperson for him called it a very difficult day for the prosecutors working in these courts, but especially for victims who are concerned about these, alleged offenders, seeking retribution, being back on the streets, et cetera, et cetera. What did you note from when you were watching these hearings, Seth? Were the prosecutors raising that issue before the decisions were made?
Yeah, on some of them. I mean, there were so many of them that they didn't say much about most of them. But they were saying this person is dangerous. This is, we can't let this we have to find a different route. It was a little bit almost like, I think I had mentioned, it was like a contract negotiation, because you had a person from the lawyer side who was disputing the DA's office, who was trying to say, this is an exception. They're like, no, this isn't an exception. It should be dismissed. Right. And they went back and forth. Most of the time, dismissal carried the day. So That was one thing I noted.
When I was listening into it, I heard on a couple of occasions they tried to find and scramble and find a public defender, because I don't think anybody wanted, in certain cases, for this for these cases to be dismissed. They were pretty serious charges.
Right.
And also, let's not forget too, the accused themselves are kind of in limbo, right?
Yes,
like
they are.
some of them were held and detained for weeks. Others have been on house arrest, or they just have a cloud hanging over their head. I'm sure many of them want to get these things resolved and move on with their lives. This kind of limbo that people are under, hurts both sides of the justice system.
Right. Yeah.
What the judges are doing is just upholding the rule of law. I mean, that we have these laws in place. We've decided that this is going to be our system, that you can't hold people without a trial. You can't have a trial without people having access to defense. And, as a Commonwealth, we're not funding the system at a level where it works.
It feels like at the end of the day, there's been a political failure here.
Right.
There clearly was a decision made back in the summer that we're gonna sort of half measure the budgeting here for bar advocates and for public defenders who aren't well paid either, the full-time people. Right. They put $40 million into a fund to recruit, train, and staff more positions for CPCS, but that takes a while. And in the meantime, this is what we're talking. We wanted to alert the public to this week. Channel 5 did a story about this last night as well. And today, WGBH did a story, which I found interesting, that CPCS has just released a new incentive program. They're trying to get these bar advocates to take more cases to try to ease the backlog, promising them, one-time fees of like $2,500, actually up to $7,500 if they'll agree to clear 15 cases. So there's some movement here this week, and I think this, the media coverage is maybe driving that a bit.
Yeah. I think one of the things too, we mentioned about the refiling, and a lot of the cases that are the most egregious, they draw attention, right? But those will probably be refiled. I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't be, or they would be taken to a different court. I think the real losers are those who are, domestic violence cases, family members who are, stalkers. Those cases probably aren't going to be refiled. I mean, there was even one, a house that someone had broken in during the day, and it was, causing great personal fear was the charge, and that's not going to be refiled either. So there's all these things, and particularly in the domestic violence and the family violence issues, I've already seen where people can only be held 7 days, and they're let out. They go right back.
Right.
And there was a case we even pointed out where the guy had gone back 3 times, and it was like he tried to run over a pregnant woman, and this was the same victim 3 times. And for those people, I've already heard, anecdotally from people that they're considering leaving.
Wow.
Leaving their homes because this has just gotten over the top, and the police can't keep arresting these people over and over.
Yeah. Well, listen, we all want to, I think, within reason, buy into this image that Boston does have, and incredibly so, of one of the safest, cities in America. This whole national debate that's swirling because of the federal aggression against Boston. But, when things like this are happening, it does shake your confidence a bit, just that the local system isn't as sturdy as we would like, and perhaps some more attention needs to be put at the local political level to getting that shored up a bit.
Yep.
So we're going to keep covering this, Seth. I know that you're on this story. I want to turn now to another big headline over the last year, which is Kearney Hospital. Mm-hmm. And I covered a meeting last night at the Lower Mill Civic Association. About 100 people turned out, which is kind of a big crowd for Lower Mill Civic lately, to hear the new development team that's been hired by the current ownership of the Kearney Hospital property. Tom O'Brien is one of the partners from HYM Investments, and Reverend Jeffrey Brown, who has his own for-profit development company as well, have teamed up, and they've been hired by Apollo Global Management, which is the massive multinational company that owns the Kearney site. This was their debut performance in front of the Civic Group to, as they said, to listen to the community. And they got an earful last night. I think this was the first opportunity, unfortunately for Tom O'Brien and Jeffrey Brown, for people in Dorchester post-Kearney's closure to kind of vent. And there's a lot of raw anger out there still about the way things went down last year in the Kearney's closure. And not only the closure of the hospital, but the closure of the medical building on the campus, which was very important as well in servicing senior citizens, children, families in Dorchester and Mattapan and other communities that surround us. So I have to say, last night, I think Mr. O'Brien and Reverend Brown both got a kind of a broadside from some folks who were just waiting to condemn the way that Kearney, and in fairness to them, they weren't part of that. They've been hired just recently in the last month to come up with a plan to redevelop it. But, the people that they're working for were somewhat complicit in this. Apollo Global Management is the landlord. They were getting large sums of money from Steward, which failed. But the key thing that I took away from last night is how much people really want healthcare use restored to that site. Many people want a full-blown hospital restored. I have to say it's unlikely given the economic conditions and the funding conditions federally. But Tom O'Brien repeatedly did say that's his number one priority for the site too. It was an interesting night. There's going to be 3 abutters meetings over the next couple of months that they're going to really focus on the immediate neighbors who live like adjacent to the Kearney campus. There's 3 scheduled meetings. And then O'Brien and Reverend Brown are also going to be going around to other Dorchester civic groups over the next couple of months. You should be on the watch for that. Are either of you picking up any of those vibrations of what people, kind of wish list, hope that comes next at the Kearney? Seth, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I heard, particularly from the Fields Corner Civic, which, the Vietnamese community was a big user of the Kearney, as well as its feeder institutions. So, I mean, they wanted a hospital. They wanted a hospital back. I think that people are intrigued by the idea of some sort of a smaller hospital with senior housing. But, market rate housing facing the woods is not on anyone's menu that I've heard.
Well, it did come up last night at the meeting several times, and I think, Tom O'Brien and Reverend Brown both mentioned those are possible uses. But they, to their credit, they're trying to listen at this point and absorb all this feedback. The other key voice last night was Councilor John Fitzgerald, who spoke and is really acting as a mediator here. He was part of the Dorchester Working Group, which is it's important to keep in mind. There was a very detailed report issued this past May, delivered to the governor and the mayor, outlining possible reuses for the Kearney. Housing wasn't really anywhere near the top of the list.
Right.
There were 5 key recommendations, and they all had to do with reuse of restoring healthcare and social services on the site. So that's pretty broad, and certainly housing could fit into a social service, but it wasn't explicitly mentioned. I wonder, Yawu, if you've picked up any of the sort of post-Kearney closure stressors as you're covering Dorchester, Roxbury, and the whole city.
I haven't. It's not an issue that's been on my radar, but I mean, it seems like there's a big hole in healthcare coverage in Boston. That if you look at where their nearest hospitals are to Dorchester, it's a pretty long, commute, like a pretty long ride in an ambulance out there. I mean, I myself have used the Kearney for emergency visits just because, it's a lot more convenient coming from Roxbury than it is heading downtown. So,
yeah, the wait times at Milton Hospital, which is the closest hospital, are pretty pronounced, especially since the Kearney closed. And the alternative is a ride into BMC from that part of Dorchester is kind of a hike. And when we're talking about some urgent issues and unfortunately occasional violence, that that lack of resource is really felt. But it's felt even in a deeper way just by the routine things, like just seniors who have to get dialysis treatment or diagnostic tests and have to schlep into Longwood or wherever they need to go. Those things can't really be done in the neighborhood setting anymore. The health centers, which are a great resource and network, don't have that level of diagnostics or sometimes, so of course, surgical and things like that. So it was the takeaway from last night. I'll leave it at this: is people really, really want a comprehensive healthcare service there. It may not be the traditional hospital that we knew 50 years ago. It won't be, let's face it. Right. But something that's a robust healthcare use is a top of the list, and I think they got that loud and clear last night. One other issue that's still bubbling and won't go away, probably much to the chagrin of the Wu administration and the Boston Unity sports partners, I think that's the name of the organization, is White Stadium. And Yawu, you covered that issue this week for us.
Right. So the Emerald Necklace Conservancy has released filed its appeal. So what Judge Matthew Nestor found, I think it was in April, was that that the land on which White Stadium sits was transferred to the George Robert White Fund and the Boston Public Schools, and because it's not, it's property of the school department, it's not parkland. That there's the Article 97 requirements don't apply to that parcel. So that Article 97 is basically a state law. It's in the Constitution that if public land, public recreation land, parkland is being, a change of use for that has to go through the legislature, and this is a change of use. It would move from public land to something that's owned partially by a private entity or leased by a private entity. Pretty major change, change of use, and the Boston Unity soccer players in the city of Boston said, this is Boston Public Schools
a BPS
land.
facility,
right?
Yeah, exclusively.
So basically, what they're arguing two things: the Emerald Necklace Conservancy. One, that the land surrounding the stadium is parkland, and that they're planning major alterations to that land, a new roadway, putting in utilities. That the plan that the city and BUSP is advancing would have commercial uses, the beer garden, concessions, merchandise sales, etc. And it will need lots of new utilities, so that upsets the parkland. And then they're moving in something on the order of 130, 140 tour buses to bring people to the stadium. And they will have to create new roadways for that to happen. So basically, they're saying that that's a change of use in public parkland that doesn't apply. And then within the stadium, or within the land that's owned by Boston Public Schools, the George Robert White Trust Fund had a clause against joint ventures. And they're saying that this would be a joint venture. Yeah. Between the Boston Unity Soccer and the city of Boston.
Well, you guys both covered this last court ruling that happened. It feels like it was back in the spring. Am I
It was
right?
in April, yeah.
I mean, why are we just getting an appeal now in October? Like, why the timing? Why the delay?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I mean, they've been working on it, sort of probably going over it with lawyers, or even deciding whether they would do it. It was a pretty hard slapdown from Matthew Nestor, but what they're alleging, the Emerald Necklace Conservancy is saying that there were a lot of issues that Nestor did not rule on. And also Nestor said that they had no authority, like they didn't have standing to challenge the joint use thing with, like, under the George Robert White Trust Fund guidelines. They didn't have standing to do that, and they're arguing again that they do have standing and that this issue should be litigated.
Well, for sure they have every right to appeal. I'm not quarreling with that. But two major things have happened since that ruling. We've had a city election where the mayor won by 49 points and sort of won the precincts around Franklin Park, and not that should be the green light of all green lights for the stadium, but the other thing that happened was the financing from Bank of America. I believe it was Bank of America agreed to finance the stadium's construction through BUSP. Two major developments, and now an appeal at this point. I know you asked the Wu administration for reaction, and they basically said, this is too much. They should drop this case.
Yeah.
But you also talked to the Franklin Park defenders. In addition to the Emerald Necklace Conservancy, there's a coalition of neighbors who, right from the beginning of this, have been against it. They've been steadfast. they may account for 50, 100 people in their core, Franklin
Yeah.
Park defenders. It doesn't sound like they've moved an inch.
Right. I mean, I think that, yeah, I mean, I think the Bank of America probably looked at the election and said, this is a done deal. I mean, these are people who vote. I mean, it's, 22% of the voters turned out.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming support for Wu, even among people who disagreed with her on White Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, but, it's just 22% of registered voters who, maybe 200,000 people in the city, almost 700,000 people are the kids who play football in Boston public schools well represented in that? Probably not. Can they play football in White Stadium once Boston Union soccer player takes over? No, they can't. So
not during the regular season. They might be able to play a playoff game or something once this is done. But
yeah, not what George Robert White stadium was created for. It was kind of, if you look at the outside of the stadium, there's a frieze of children playing football. But yeah,
well, both of you, all of us live in close, relatively close proximity. But you guys, especially you, Seth. I mean, you've been hearing from neighbors unhappy about the parking regimen around game days, et cetera. The buses are a big issue, shuttles, et cetera. But post-election now, what's the sentiment that you're picking up on?
I think that was really front and center for a while, but when they postponed the season starting next year and they're going to play at Gillette next year.
Yes.
And then they'll come back. That kind of died down a little bit. I anticipate it's going to come back. I mean, when they decide to come back, it's just going to be a real tricky thing to get that many people in there that many times a year. And without cars.
Right.
I think the traffic in the area, it's something that people routinely complain about. They complain about the notion of central running bus lines on Blue Hill Avenue. I think people are sort of at a boiling point with some of this stuff, the way it is.
Yeah.
And to introduce that on game days, if there's game days on weekdays, it's kind of hard to see how it wouldn't be like a little piece of the Fenway in Roxbury, like essentially like things could just grind to a halt. And, you have a lot of public transit that relies on Seaver Street and Columbus Ave. You have a lot of people, kids coming home from school. It's just kind of hard to see how it all fits together. But Saturdays, games starting at, say, 5, 6 o'clock, they're saying no parking permit between 3 and 10 p.m., 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. It puts a damper on people's weekend plans if they're planning cookouts or, any kind of family gatherings or parties, et cetera. So,
well, however this particular appeal resolves, no matter what, the next couple of years are going to be interesting at that local level politically. And I want to turn to the District 7 City Council race because, Yawu, you also wrote about that this week. We're now in the final stretch. Early voting's about to start this coming weekend, October 25th and 26th. There are two finalists, Saeed Ahmed and Minyard Culpepper are the two finalists in District 7. You watched a forum this past week, or a couple of forums, in which they were featured, and on several occasions didn't really have a clear answer on some of those major issues. And maybe you talk us through what's this race like here in the final stretch?
It's I guess the overriding thing here is the strongest case for ranked choice voting that we've seen in a long time, because each of the two candidates got about 15% of the vote.
Big field, 11 candidates.
Right, out of 11 candidates, there were 5 who got around 1,000 votes, and only 2 of those 5 advanced to the final election. So basically, 70% of voters didn't get their first choice. So we're down to Saeed Ahmed and Minyard Culpepper. Culpepper seems like he's getting the majority, the lion's share of endorsements from elected officials. Ayanna Pressley announced yesterday. Several state reps and local elected officials have supported Culpepper.
He won the endorsement of 2 of his former opponents, who finished, I think, 4th and 5th in the
Right.
September election.
And
right?
I'm sorry, man. I'm
Sam Hurtado and
other-
Saeed.
Said
Abdi
Abdi Karim. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. So
Abdi Karim.
So he's it's almost like people are circling, like there's two camps and people are circling wagons around
Yeah.
Culpeper. He's somebody who's grown up in the community. He's worked in the community for decades, so he has a lot of institutional support. You can see that in some of the endorsements he's gotten. Ahmed is a lot younger. I think Culpeper is in his 70s and Ahmed is in his 30s or 40s. He's certainly did a lot of door knocking and a lot of campaigning. He did well, reasonably well throughout the district. And whereas Culpeper's strength was right in Roxbury, around where he lives in Ward 12. Though it's hard to say, how it's going to shake out. You're looking at, to what extent do these endorsements really matter? It'll be a good test case for that. I haven't seen anybody on doors. I don't know whether Culpeper has people out there knocking or if he's out there door knocking, but that's going to matter.
You would think it'd be a ground game here that makes a difference. And, Seth, what we don't have is a mayor's race to help Gerard out. It'll have to be the at-large contest maybe that helps D7's turnout, although D7 has its own engaged constituency, obviously. But there is a contest at the at-large race that we're watching, and it really has to do with Henry Santana and Frank Baker.
Right. The two of them seem to be, and Valdez, too. Alexandra Valdez has made a little bit of a comeback here.
She got the support this week of former Mayor, U.S. Labor Secretary Marty Walsh.
She did.
The only other candidate he endorsed was Frank Baker. So two non-incumbents that Marty has endorsed.
Right. I just pulled up a list of her endorsements from city councilors and state elected officials, but I didn't write anything down. But there were like 5 or 6 endorsements that she announced over the last week. So,
how do these endorsements actually manifest, though, in this race at this stage? Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. Late in the game endorsement like Ayanna Presley or Marty Walsh, big names.
Because I want to write about that. So in 2013, when Walsh made the final after the preliminary, it was just Walsh and John Connolly. What was significant with Walsh was that pretty much every black elected official endorsed him.
Yep.
And I think that made a difference in that race because, it was sort of like the balls on the rim. And I think that kind of tipped it in for him because the black community in Boston, progressives, and, really helped push him over the line. He was drawing on a base of voters here in Dorchester and South Boston, that's a little bit different than what Connolly was drawing from, but he was able to, pull in black voters, and I think that those endorsements mattered. Yeah. I believe, and I want to sort of test this theory out and talk to some people who really know that in an at-large race where people don't just come out for one person, or they might just come out to vote for one person. But if they see somebody and they see like, oh yeah, my candidate has endorsed that candidate, then it could make a difference.
Yeah.
You had mentioned him endorsing 2 non-incumbents, and with Frank, it's been interesting to watch how I don't know that he's really courting a lot of these endorsements, but I see that he's noticed where he was not very strong. And now I see him going those places. He's had a ton of fundraisers.
Yeah, and Baker's raised more money than anybody, I think, in this race, other than maybe Councilor Louis Jouen. But of the everybody besides that, he's certainly been in the lead there.
I think he thought he was going to do, and I don't know, but I think he thought he was going to do a lot better in East Boston than he did.
Yeah.
And it was interesting where Aaron Murphy, who you might think is similar, did quite well in East Boston, and Frank in the same places didn't. So I think he's working a lot there. He's focusing on Charlestown too. There were a lot of votes in Charlestown left on the table. So
and Mayor Wu has certainly been focused on Henry Santana in the last couple of weeks.
Right. I think Santana has he's received a lot of endorsements from, Wu's endorsement comes with volunteers, with work, like city officials can work for him. But he also, Santana also, received endorsements from progressive groups, including JP Progressives. And, they will also work on behalf of a counselor. And again, people are showing up to an at-large thing, they might have one or two people they want to vote for, and then they get a card from, JP Progressives that says, hey, vote for Santana. They might, that can actually make a difference. Baker has not received those kinds of endorsements. He appears to have worked harder on this race, and he's working harder, than some of the other candidates. So it'd be really interesting to see how he does.
You also had an opponent endorse an opponent.
Who's that?
Well, Ruth Z endorsed people who were running in the race against her. So she endorsed Santana. Mm-hmm. Who else did she endorse? I don't think she did Valdez, but yeah, she endorsed Santana. So technically they're running against each other.
Yeah, I guess they're going for the same pool of votes probably.
Sure.
But
well,
everybody has
way out in number 1, and
True.
Santana's way out in number 4. There's thousands of votes separating them, so she's not losing any sleep over that.
No.
Since I have you both here pre-election, and I don't know if you're going to be here next week or not, or if I'm going to be here next week for that matter, give me your top 4 predictions. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Me?
Yeah,
okay,
both
I'll
of you.
start. I'd say Ruth Z, Julia Mejia, Aaron Murphy, and I'm going to pick Frank Baker in the 4th spot.
Who you got?
I'd go the same with Seth, and I think that Baker is in play. I think it's still closer than many people think. What we're looking at in this race is, with the mayor not on the ballot, will the universe of voters shrink? Right. And if so, does that advantage Baker? I think it might.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. But I'm gonna just to keep things interesting go with Louis Jouen, Mejia, Murphy, and Santana. And I think Baker finishes 5th, just close behind them.
Are we putting money on this gentleman?
I'm willing to wager something. Let's think
Got some
about
pennies
that.
in here.
Maybe some Halloween candy, because I want to talk about
there
that.
we go.
One secret sauce for Marty Walsh all these years, and super voters in Ward 17 know this well. The man gives out very large candy bars from his porch. Sorry about that, Marty, but you maybe have to buy some more this year. He gives out the big supersized candy, and there's a line around the block for it. Halloween in Dorchester is still a big deal in certain neighborhoods, and definitely in Lower Mills it is. There's a block party happening that night, and the city has a grant program now that helps fund it. Several neighborhoods are taking advantage of it. Meeting House Hill, Lower Mills, Savin Hill, a couple of other ones that I've seen, and also the police stations have open houses for kids. So if you're looking to find out more about that, check out this week's Reporter. We have a listing of some of that on page 2. But is Halloween still a big deal on your streets? Trick-or-treating?
This is funny. I was privy to a conversation at one of the local church parishes about whether they should do, they have an influx of children.
Yeah.
Should they do a trunk or treat in the parking lot or not? And it's 50-50. A lot of people are absolutely not. That's a terrible idea. And other people are like, we love Halloween. It's fun. The kids dress up. You know what? I think that there is sort of a little bit of a wave in the Caribbean community, and especially where that's seen as, Halloween is really seen as
the occult,
satanic.
Yeah. There's always been a touch of that in certain communities, but it tends to get offset by the kids,
right? and parents.
They go out and do it on their own if they have to. But yeah, I've noticed that too. What about in your neighborhood, Yawu?
It's sparse. Yeah. It's sparse in my corner of Roxbury up around Grove Hall. There, sometimes there are streets that will, put on a little show. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids go, they just do the destination Halloween things. Right. They go to Dunster Street in Jamaica Plain.
Yeah.
It's sad, but there are a lot fewer kids in Boston now than there were when you and I were growing up in the olden days, right?
Right.
And most people have one kid or no kids, and there's not the same culture of kids being out, of people knowing their neighbors. So yeah.
Well, the kids that are hitting the streets, they're usually, I can tell you, coming to my street or Marty Walsh's next door on Butler, and they will be this Halloween. And by the way, it's great. I think it's awesome. Mm-hmm. They're closing the streets down on those 2 streets.
Right.
And I think it's smart for the city to fund these mini grants. I think it's only like $500 or whatever, but people can have little block parties, put some sawhorses up, block the street. Right. The one thing that does freak me out in the city is kids running around on the streets and people still flying around.
Cars,
So,
yeah.
Please, in those hours next week, be mindful of that, be safe, and go out with your kids if you can and make sure that they're safe doing this. But hey, have fun. And I really appreciate both of you guys joining. Seth,
Good to be here.
from 15 feet away, thanks
Yes,
for making
it
the
was
trip.
a terrible trip.
And Yawu, thanks for coming in and joining us again. So that's it for this week's segment of Dot Life, the Dot News segment. Thanks for coming, and looking forward to having Erin Caldwell back next week. She's still traveling, and she will be back with some new content about Dorchester, UK. There was a little technical glitch in this week's episode, so you won't see it this week, but don't worry, it's coming, and we all can't wait to see that. So thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Dot Life is sponsored in part by the Dorchester Reporter, Dorchester's own community newspaper and online home for all things Dorchester at dotnews.com. The Reporter, owned and operated by the Forry family, has been laser focused on Dorchester and the surrounding neighborhoods of Boston since 1983. That longevity and experience shows in its award-winning coverage every week. The Reporter is our go-to source for authentic stories about the people, places, and events that matter most to our daily lives. We are proud to partner with The Reporter and Dot News. And you can support the important journalism provided by The Reporter. Just go to dotnews.com to subscribe today. It's the best deal in town and helps keep our local community journalism alive and well. Welcome back to the Dot Life podcast. I am so happy to finally be back on set. It's been a while. I know you've had a lot more of Bill, which I'm sure you're now sad that you have me back, but we have Linda, so we've got the next best thing. Happy to be here, and thank you for your patience while I was traveling and dealing with a loss in the family. So we're back. And I'm joined today by Aliesha Porcena, who is the Small Business Director for the City of Boston. Hi, Aliesha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I mentioned you already, but we're also joined by Linda Dorcena Forry again.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on while I was out.
Absolutely.
Holding down the news fort. Really appreciate it.
We're happy you're back, though, gotta say.
So we're here to talk about small businesses.
Yes.
They are a huge part of the Boston economy, often overlooked.
Yes.
So talk to us about your department. What do you do? Why does the small business office exist?
So the Small Business Office is here to support small businesses in Boston start, grow, and build. One of the key things that we're doing is working with businesses to liaise across the city departments to make sure they have the right permits, the right licensing, the right information so they are not stuck. But so I see our office really as helping businesses get unstuck, move through the city system, and really thrive.
Are you saying the city system is sticky?
Well, the world is sticky, but the city system can be sticky at times, and if you don't know the right questions to ask, you can often get lost in it. And so a lot of the work that we're trying to do is making the information more accessible, more transparent, but also just demystifying it and making it less complicated. And so I think that's what our office does. One of the things that's really important is to meet people where they are. For me, especially as a daughter of immigrants, as somebody who, is the youngest child, I was always asking questions and oftentimes had to really challenge folks to understand my trajectory and things like that. So I bring that into the work, into my philosophy of supporting businesses, making sure that they have all the information, that they have all the tools, and that they don't feel alone in the process. And so that's why we're here. That's why we want our economy to thrive in Boston, and we want these businesses to feel supported.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it's like to be a small business owner in a city like Boston, but Linda, you can, because you're here today in the capacity of a small business owner. Yeah. So we'll get into a little bit more about your relationship to the department in a bit, but talk about just your business for those who aren't familiar.
Yeah, well, first I just want to say it's great to be here, Erin, and great to be here with Aliesha Porcena, who's doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
On behalf of our small businesses in the city and just representing, right? And giving access, which is so important, and figuring figuring out how do we help people thrive. So I have multiple hats, right? Co-publisher of the Reporter newspapers with my husband, Bill Forry, but I do own my own consulting company,
right?
LDF Holdings, LLC.
So you're a dual small business owner.
A dual small business owner. But it's going well so far, right? Because it is about, making connections, right? And the city talks about that. How do you build partnerships? How do you get out there and network? But this is a great place. The city's amazing. In my prior life as a former elected, I was chair of small business and community development. So definitely small businesses are the backbone of the economy, right? When big businesses are letting people go, small businesses keep on, they have their folks on for decades, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen this, Aliesha, where there's people who've been employed with the same company for 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important, the work you're doing, which is great.
Well, it's awesome to have your perspective. And speaking of the backbone of the economy, talk a little more about that, Aliesha. How much does small business drive in Boston, and specifically Dorchester, if you have that data?
Yes, I do have the data, and so I don't want to mess that up. But in terms of Boston as a whole, so Boston is home to over 50,000 small businesses, but we count the 18,000 as kind of like our niche of businesses that we're supporting. Those businesses are creating over 120,000 jobs.
Wow.
And generating more than $28 billion $28 billion to the economy. So when we talk about job creation, when we talk about getting food on the table, these are the people who are doing that every day for us in Boston.
And when you talk about small business, how do you define that?
So small business is defined in a different way. So the federal government has like a very big term in which they define small businesses.
They do.
It's like 5 million to this. And so we're a little bit smaller here in Boston. And so for us, we define kind of micro enterprises, and then we have smaller businesses where we're helping those micro businesses. So businesses that have less than 500,000 in revenue, have about up to 5 employees. Those are kind of our micro businesses. We're trying to get them to small scale businesses so that they have more than 10 employees and up to $1 million in revenue. And so those are how we kind of define small businesses with Boston. Everything is a small business under kind of like 5 million, but we're really looking at micro businesses and small scaled businesses.
I would imagine, though, that some don't want to grow. I don't know if LDF Consulting will ever be more than 10, right? Like your goal is just to stay small and nimble. And so I assume you also provide a lot of assets and resources to those micro businesses as well.
A lot of assets and resources. And that's the truth. Not everyone wants to grow. True. Not everyone wants to scale. But it's also about, what you're doing now, the plan that you're doing now, is that the best for your business? If something were to happen, are you ready? Are you nimble? Are you flexible? Can you pivot? Those are the questions we need to ask. COVID-19 came around and a lot of businesses closed, a lot of businesses shut down, and it was very hard for them to bounce back. For businesses that needed to pivot online, some were able to do that, some weren't. And so making sure that businesses are armed with information and with tools and resources to change as our economy changes, as the world changes, is really important. So it's not only about growing, but it's making sure you're running an efficient business and it's sustainable too.
And resilient, I can't imagine what it was like for you to have to manage people through COVID-19. That's something you don't really anticipate at that scale.
Yeah, absolutely. I came at the end of it, and so I really got to see kind of the aftermath of it, and of businesses still struggling. So that was really hard. But I think as a city, we were very, very smart about how we were using ARPA dollars, how we were using the COVID relief money. And because of that, we were able to provide very creative programs and opportunities for our businesses that will have that will see the benefits of that in years to come.
Long past the pandemic,
That's
Linda,
wonderful.
Talk about the challenges that you think are unique to these smaller businesses.
I would say there's many challenges, right? I mean, and you know this, but, one of them would be in terms of back office support, right? I mean, you have small businesses, it's mom and pops, and, they're in it, right? Every day, every hour. And so then, in terms of managing their books, right? Who's their accountants, right? Who's the attorney that's helping them in terms of the legal work? And I think this is the work, too, that Aliesha and the team does, is incredible technical assistance, right? Is how do we give these small businesses wraparound services that they're going to need, to thrive and grow? Because in the end, not everyone's going to want to be big, but if you can help build their capacity and help with website development, right, and help with marketing and how do they get out there and brand, they can do it, right, and they can grow. And so I think that's the big piece, is how do you give the wraparound services, which I know you're working on, right, and your team, to really lift up these businesses and let them know that this city's here to support you, right, and it's important. And being a child of immigrants like Aliesha, and I'm going to say we're like sisters from another father because it's Linda Dorcena Forry, it's Aliesha Porcena. I'm Dorcena. We are not related, but hey, sac passe, right?
I know, right?
But I think that, but it's important, right? And the other piece I'll say is that there's a large number of immigrants who are business owners here in our city, right? And that's who's making up the jobs and really getting people to work, and it's quite amazing. And it's folks from all over,
Well, and the Reporter is 40 plus years old.
Yes, it is.
Right? And it's a legacy business.
It is a legacy business. Woohoo!
But there's also those folks who are just starting out who may not even know what they need, right? Do you help support, like, hey, have you thought about your tax filing situation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things we can do is just give people the knowledge and information. So what are red flags? And so I was having a joke with some colleagues, and I was like, I have this idea to do a Valentine's Day special in February. Do you know, like the pop the balloon?
Something surprise inside.
Somebody says something, and you're like, that's red flag. And it's just like, how can we share that kind of information with business owners? So if your landlord is not responding to you, or your potential landlord is not responding to you, if they're making you sign a lease very quickly, what are just in making sure they have this information. If you don't have a lawyer on hand, making sure you understand what you're signing and understand what you're getting into. And so, and just exposing these red flags that often you don't hear until you go through it. And it doesn't have to be that way. And so how are we creating a community of support? You can win, I can win, we can all win. So what does that look like?
And the city wins because we're getting more tax revenue and more societal fabric. And so talk about that specifically to Dorchester at first. Of those businesses that you mentioned, was it the 18,000 that are in Dorchester?
In Boston.
So how many are in, do you know any
About
idea?
10% of all businesses in Boston are in Dorchester. So if you think about Dorchester is our biggest neighborhood.
Yep.
It's represented by so many different cultures, so many different people. It's an exciting spot. So you have our little pockets of all different kinds of cultures. And so Dorchester is a big focus for our office just because it's so big.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Do you have any favorites aside from the Dorchester Reporter? That you want to share?
Yeah, right.
The Dot Life podcast. Come on.
I know.
We are a micro business.
Just starting though. Well, let's see in 10 years.
know.
Right?
That's
I
true.
know.
That's true.
I'm curious to know what your favorite businesses are. I would say that it depends on what I'm feeling. So if I want to, if I have a shopping itch, probably go to the local hand, and you can support a bunch of different businesses. If I'm going out to eat with my family, because we have a big family and there's a lot of little kids, and so we'll probably go to a Vietnamese restaurant in Little Saigon because they're just so accommodating to my family and all the kids.
Wait, how many is a lot?
Well, my
kids?
sister has 5 kids.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Beat
a lot.
me.
Yeah, I know.
Just got you beat.
I know.
Got me beat by one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely a proud auntie. So yeah.
Nice.
So
Same.
I get to bring them to a lot of different stores and restaurants and events across the city. And so there's just a love for Boston that I appreciate. In Dorchester alone, there's so many different areas that I love to frequent.
I can't even state how much small businesses add to a community. there's nothing wrong with large businesses, but small businesses, the owners know you, they know your likes and dislikes, they understand the fabric of that community. I don't know. Can you guys talk about your experience with just like small business owners? And I mean, you are one.
No, we have great small business owners, right? And all of Boston, yes, but I'm happy Dorchester is the place, right? The most diverse community, the largest neighborhood in our city. Yeah. And I mean, and you can go to any pocket, right? And experience various cultures. And I think that's what's beautiful.
Yeah.
But people do know you, right? If you visit the place so many times, like with your nieces and nephews, right, and your family, I mean, folks get to know you and know your likes and dislikes. And it's really great because it does form community, right? And where people will meet up and just hang, which is wonderful.
We had Seth Daniel on a couple of weeks ago. Actually, we have him on this week. But a couple of weeks ago when he was on, he was talking about Codman Square in particular and how that's been losing businesses. And that's actually shifting the culture of that area because, to your point, Seth would go in and they would know him and he'd shop there for years and he's lost that connection. Yeah. What does that do to a community when they lose, those core fundamental businesses like that?
I mean, it does a lot to a community. I think it's almost like a loss of something you're so familiar with. Yeah. And so, it was so funny because I was driving by Nubian the other day and I was like, when did this building happen?
Shouldn't I know this?
Right. But I drive by every day and I'm like, why am I just seeing this now? So I think it's, we do want development. We do want for our neighborhoods to be beautified, but we don't want, how do you have development without displacement? What does that look like? And so making sure if the business wants to stay there, that they're able to stay there, they have a trajectory. But it is almost like a loss of community, I would say, when it comes to businesses closing down. I think one of the big things about my role that I take pride in is that, I bought my first home, and I'm saying first because, putting it into the atmosphere, maybe one day it'll be more than one. But I like but I can't even handle one right now. But, I say that it was in Dorchester, but I say that to say I take a lot of pride in being able to drive around the neighborhood or walk around the neighborhood and say I supported this business. We worked on that signage. We provided them with technical assistance. This is people that I see every day. And so we know we're making an impact in the community, and you can see it firsthand. So that I take immense joy and pride in, and it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. Let's focus on the old businesses, old, 10 years or more. So this
the
is
OG businesses.
That's right, the OGs. This is the fourth year of the Boston Legacy Business Awards.
Correct.
Can you talk about what those are and why they were created?
So the Legacy Business Program was created from COVID-19 when we saw a lot of businesses closing and businesses that were staples in the community, businesses who were beloved, and there was just no support for them.
No safety net.
Right, there was no safety net. So this in partnership, this is kind of Mayor Wu wanted to do something for those businesses. And so what came out of it was a legacy business program where we're supporting businesses who have been in business in Boston for 10 or more years. And it's all industry. You have to be a small business. But what we're really looking at as our businesses that are beloved by the community. So the nomination process comes from community members. So you have to live in Boston to nominate a business. And then from there, we have a full application process. But what the program does is support businesses to grow, to develop, for sustainability, for succession planning. But oftentimes we think that because they're a legacy business, because they've been in business 10 years, they might not need changes.
They've got it sorted.
They've got it sorted. And you can probably speak more on that. But, I'm a firm believer, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we can accessorize it. We can decorate it. So there's always an area where we can develop and grow. Yeah, I know when people say that, I'm like, when I say that, people laugh. But there's always somewhere where you can grow and develop. And so that's what this program is doing for legacy businesses, pinpointing that, and then being able to provide services, wraparound services to support these businesses.
I mean, Linda, I would imagine at 40 plus years in, it's still not set it and forget it with the business, right? Like there's always something.
Always something, absolutely. And Bill, I mean, he's on the show as the executive editor, right?
Yeah.
There's always something happening in terms of the journalist side and the stories. So
Yeah.
it's always shaping. But we were grateful, to be one of the Legacy Award winners 2024
Yep.
last year. It was quite amazing, right? Because yes, as the company Dorchester Reporter newspaper has been around for 43 years.
Yeah.
But to be able to get the technical support, in particular the web design, and working on that piece.
Can we tease that? Is it?
I'm not even sure.
Oh.
Oh, but the support. Can we? Sorry, honey.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Oh, wow. No, but it was wonderful, right? And to be able to really have conversation, like Eric Estevez, Boston Main Street, is a friend and was able to have conversations with them. We lifted up a foundation that's looking at and supporting community journalism. How do we create the pipeline of folks in our neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
From Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, the city, who are interested in reporting and really creating that. And so it was great technical assistance and the support. And I say, everyone should apply, right? In terms of recommend your businesses that you love, because it's so important, and it was incredible to see so many people, right? And so many businesses from the city get recognized.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of them, I think, right?
Right.
I was telling stories at some point, but it was great.
So things that you may recognize you want to do as a business, but don't have the bandwidth or the
That's right.
knowledge or the resources to get them done, and that's where your team supports. So if someone wants to nominate a business, what's the process?
So they can go online, and nominations are open until October 31st.
That's
so
next
Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
Halloween.
Halloween.
No, sir.
And they can go to smallbusiness.gov/legacybusiness. Ooh, fancy.
Oh,
See?
look into
Kelsey
the
coming
camera
in
and
with the
say it.
So
Tell them.
boston.gov/legacy to nominate your favorite business in Boston. And tell us why.
And is it one nomination per person?
Yes, it's one
okay, so
nomination.
really pick your favorite.
Oh, you gotta
Yes.
pick.
Yeah.
You gotta pick.
Okay.
That's exciting, though.
How many nominations do you usually get?
So we usually get over 1,200
Wow.
a year.
Are you
yes.
kidding?
No.
Oh
You
my
should feel even
goodness,
better
that's
about
amazing! Wow.
Yeah,
that
it
is
had
amazing.
no idea.
Each year
Oh,
now,
wow.
people are like, well, why wasn't I nominated?
I don't know. Talk
When
to your
they-
audience.
Yeah, when they hear about it, and I've been in business this many years, I'm like, well, but that's also cool
That's
because it also gives people an opportunity to visit other businesses across
That's right.
Boston. So we're encouraging shopping local, shopping small, and I think this provides an opportunity for people to learn about different businesses in the community.
Totally. So once they've been nominated, so nominations close on the 31st, and then you start to go through them and how
and
many
make
do you
sure they
shortlist
fit-
to?
We make sure they fit all the criteria, so
Okay.
that they're a business, that they're registered, and all that. And if one thing I want to say, and I just want to give a shout out to my office, there will be times where we'll notice that the business might be missing something like, hey, you are actually not registered with the state. And so then we follow up with them to say, just want to make sure you have this information.
Very good.
To make sure that we're following up and making sure that they know what they need to know.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, okay, we don't have this information, but we also say, like, I just want you to know this is also the
Yeah.
case.
That's great. How do you help them? Great.
Yeah, right.
So we'll do, we'll vet those businesses or the nominations, and then from there we have like a shorter list. Then we'll go through that, and then the city council will. Is it the city council? Yes, I think the city council then reviews the businesses. They nominate theirs, and then a committee reviews and then we invite the businesses to apply. So not everyone gets to apply. We
Okay.
invite a shorter list to apply, and then
So
the
you've
committee
been nominated
reviews.
and
Yes.
shortlisted. Would you
Shortlist.
like to
Okay.
apply? To,
Yes.
Okay, got
Yes.
it.
Very good.
Because
Nice.
I don't think we can go through 500 applications.
That's 1,200.
Yeah.
I was like,
You
what?
could just not do anything
just a
else
lot.
for like-
yeah.
So when do they get announced?
That's a good question.
Okay. All right. We'll stay tuned.
We have a very meticulous spreadsheet of a timeline, but I love to give
Best
a
laid
week or two.
plans.
Yeah, but we're hoping to share who is nominated or who are the legacy businesses in the new year. So early in the new year.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Great. And what was it like when you guys won?
It was amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah. It was. It was wonderful, and then to be there with the other businesses around the city who've won, and we visited a lot of them, right? And like you're saying, you get to meet so many people.
Were there any you didn't know, like hadn't heard of?
Yeah, because it's not just Dorchester, right? It's everywhere, right? So it's Austin Brighton, it's Chinatown, it's like
East
downtown, East Boston, right? Jamaica Plain, Rosendale, you name them. It's 23 neighborhoods, and folks were there. And this year, we got to host it. My husband and I, we were the host for the Legacy Business Awards.
Did you hand yourself the award?
No. That was last year.
That was
we
last
got
year.
the award,
Okay.
but this year they asked us to come and to be the host, and that was a lot of fun. So it was with Aliesha and everything, and we had a great time
Was
giving
that
out
on
the
your
awards.
anniversary?
It was.
It was.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! It was. Yes. How did I forget? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you all go out after that?
We did go out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, that's
we
good.
did.
Okay,
I know
okay.
it was our wedding anniversary. I know.
Bill talked
Jeez.
about that
Yeah,
on
he
the
did.
pod.
But we had a great time.
She's so
as I'm-
committed to small businesses.
I know.
But as I was, announcing the awardees, I'm like, oh my goodness, the best! Like Cruise Construction got it. I'm like,
She had a nice tidbit to say about every business.
Every
I am not
she knew them
surprised.
personally and saved their
I
names.
knew a lot, and there was some I didn't know, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm coming to visit.
So that's a good point, though. It's not just like restaurants and stores. It's dry cleaners.
Yes, it's everything.
It's all like construction companies, law
Yeah.
firms, right? It's across the board. It can be
It's
anything.
across the board. There's a Kiki Auto Repair, so it's the whole thing.
the gamut.
And- yeah.
That's great. So there's something in there too. It's got to be 10 years plus, right? Is that a milestone that you have identified or someone has identified as like, this means they've made it? Or like, what is, and maybe Linda, you can speak to this too. At what point in the business's lifespan do you say, I think we're here. I think we're a thing now. And we can kind of like not be scared of not making it.
Yeah, 10 years is definitely significant. I would say after year 4. So
Okay.
that year to 4 to 5 is really kind of make or break.
Okay. What happens then? Just is that when you start to turn a profit, or is that like you've got it, or
It's kind of like you understand the systems. I don't know if it's about well, obviously you have to at some point you have to be paying yourself, and
Yeah.
so there must be some kind of profit in that.
yeah, we haven't hit that yet.
No, it's a break even, right? No, break even.
Right.
Yeah.
First break even,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then figuring out what the profit could look like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So there's a point about generational wealth and how important it is to be able to use that small business money and reinvest in your family and your legacy, hence Legacy Awards. How important do you think that is as a component of owning a small business?
Oh, it's so important. And I say that because, small businesses often are working 24/7.
Yeah.
So if the business is not open, they're still working. They're still, it's all on them. And so with that comes a lot of sacrifice too. It comes a lot of sacrifice with your family. And, often health and things like that. So it's so important when we're thinking about generational wealth to be able to not, to make sure that the business is as sustainable as possible to carry on to the next generation. And so that, if anything were to happen, where if there was a flood in the business or anything like that, that it's not a catastrophe for the business, because then that would take a toll on the family. And so things like having an emergency plan, things like having a strategic plan, having a succession plan. If it's a family-owned business, what does succession look like? And succession could look like selling your business, or it could look like passing it down. But being able to have that conversation with your family. And then when I talk about generational wealth, when you're passing it down, passing something down that is sustainable. You don't want to pass your debt down to your children, your family. And so making sure there's like a fully fledged business there to pass down, I think, is so important. And then one thing about our office, but really our cabinet, it's a cabinet of opportunities. So are you certified business? Are you able to respond to contracts? Thinking about kind of the long term. So those are the things about when we think about generational wealth. So it's not necessarily like paycheck to paycheck when we're thinking about small businesses, but how are we creating opportunity for you to kind of advance your business in different ways, build new income streams, and really think about more than just the day-to-day, but working on your business.
Yeah. And, coming back to the idea of wealth, we've talked about this. A lot of small business owners, they're not doing it because they're wealthy and they need somewhere to sink their money into. They have a passion.
Right.
They're often immigrants who have come here to start something new. It's important that it turn into something that they can leave behind and leave a legacy on. So the Legacy Business Awards close October 31st.
Yes,
Say one more time.
nominations.
Get
Nominations
in.
close October 31st. Go to boston.gov/legacy to nominate your favorite business in Boston.
Perfect. One more thing about small businesses. I guess it doesn't have to be a small business.
Yes.
What's your favorite place to eat in Dorchester?
Oh my goodness.
Linda, I know you got like
I know
40.
I have like 30. I mean, so go ahead. I have a lot.
That's a good question. No, I can't. You go first. What's your favorite spot?
What is my favorite spot right now? I was
There's
not
so
prepared
many.
for you to turn it
Oh
back
my
on me.
gosh.
What is my
Via
favorite spot right
Canuccia
now?
to Avalo. Like merengue. She's on Dorchester Roxbury line, but merengues.
Merengue, yeah.
Merengue's
I've actually
amazing.
never been there, but I
Oh,
drove by the
wow.
other day and I was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I gotta check
Gotta
it out.
go.
Yeah.
We'll go.
There was one that I ate at the other day that I was like, oh, this one is on the list. And now, of course, I can't remember it.
How about you? Okay, now you've had time.
Yeah, you've had
Come
time.
on.
You know,
had time.
That's a good question. So if I want like breakfast/lunch, I love American Provisions.
Okay, yeah.
They just and it's just very sweet. All the staff are very sweet going in. But then if I want like a good vibe, I'll maybe go to Comfort Kitchen or the Mix.
The mix, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
The
That's great.
the sandwiches at Green Hills are really good. Speaking of
Oh,
legacy
yeah.
business owners,
So good.
the one that's like the Thanksgiving dinner day after with the cranberry sauce
Okay, I
and
need to go
turkey.
there.
You gotta go
that's
there.
really
That's
good.
one of
they-
my favorite kinds of sandwiches.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, then you have to check it out. I mean, it's really
Yeah,
good.
it's
And they have an
excellent.
amazing like mushroom soup.
Okay.
Incredible.
It is
Yeah.
soup season, so
It is.
Yes.
And amazing scones, of course. Yeah. There's so many great places.
There's so many. Well, Aliesha, thanks so much for coming. It's really exciting to hear about what's going on with small businesses and the impact they have on our community. And we will get people to nominate their legacy businesses.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you for shedding a light on Dorchester.
Absolutely.
and all that you do, too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And Linda, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Always to be. It's great to be here with you, Erin. Alicia, great job. Keep it up. This is
thank you.
awesome. And go ahead, .live. Come on, y'all. All right.
Hit that 4-year mark.
You got this.
Life is supported by The Record Company, Boston's leading provider of accessible music creation spaces. The Record Company is addressing the critical shortage of affordable creative space in our city, serving over 4,000 monthly users across 131 communities. They've preserved 47,000 square feet of professional studio and rehearsal space at rates 60 to 90% below market value, ensuring Boston's musicians have a place to create, regardless of economic means. But they're more than just affordable space. They're building career pathways through partnerships with Bunker Hill Community College, offering professional certification programs that lead to sustainable music careers. This vital work is at risk. As creative spaces continue to disappear across Boston, the Record Company needs community support to maintain these essential resources. Their Amplify Boston campaign directly funds space preservation and career development programs. Visit therecordcompany.org today. That's therecordco.org to donate, become a monthly supporter, or learn about partnership opportunities. Every contribution helps keep Boston's music ecosystem thriving. The Record Company, creating accessible pathways to music creation since 2010. Welcome back to Life. This week's Tiny Dot concert is going to happen shortly with the Emberists. Hello.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Mary. Great to have you and the gang here.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So your name is Mary Mack.
Yep.
Is that your full name?
My legal name is Mary McCarthy.
Okay.
When I moved to Dorchester back in the late 80s, I was doing theater and music, and I There were phone books at the time.
Okay.
And if you went to Mary McCarthy,
there were 3,000 of them.
There were like 3,000. So I was like, I need a stage name.
You need a stage name.
So I was like, Miss Mary Mac. That's going to be my stage
I
name.
like
and
that.
I just kind of kept it. Sometimes I just use Mary Mac. Sometimes I use the full Miss Mary Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did the Emberists come from as a name?
So we came together as a band about a little over a year ago. A mutual friend of mine and Mal and David and Ben's does theater, and he was doing a performance of The Arsonists,
Okay.
which is a Max Frisch play,
Okay.
kind of about fascism, the rise of fascism, and how kind of like
terrible it is.
Yes, how terrible it is, exactly. And he had this idea about having music with the show, and so he reached out to us individually and was like, hey, I've got this idea and I want some music, and maybe before the show. And it ended up we kind of like started the show and then started the second half, and he named us. So because it was the Arsonists, he named us the Emberists.
I love that.
And it kind of stuck. And
His name is Dan Boudreau.
And thank you, Mal. And his name is Daniel Boudreau, exactly.
And then you added some other folks to the band.
Yes. So Lee, when we started working with the play, I really liked the sound we were getting, and I thought to myself, gosh, this would be great with Saw. We need. So Lee and I, many years ago, used to perform with a group called Suki Chaudhry.
Okay.
And so I called her up, and I was like, hey, feel like getting your saw out and coming and join me in this musical adventure? She's like, yeah, sure. So she did. And then we were playing at the Little Crepe Cafe over in Cambridge after the play had ended. And we met Michael. He was doing some poetry there and doing his fiddle. And we just were like, hey, why don't you just come on over to one of our rehearsals and just sit in and see. And so here we are.
And there we go. Yeah.
Here we are.
So does Saw limit you to Saw-friendly songs, or do you work Saw into any song? Did that make sense? It was a tongue twister.
It does, no.
Okay.
I'd say we work Saw into any song. Wouldn't you say that?
Is there a
Lee?
song that isn't good for Saw?
Shout at the devil. I don't know. I don't even know if that's a good answer. No, I mean, I think, like I've said before, I don't think a lot of musicians write music for Saw, but I think that there is room for Saw in a lot of different kinds of music. And I think that's what Mary and other musicians that I've worked with have found and invited me in to be part of that layering of music.
You are the first Saw we've had in here, so I'm excited to hear.
Yeah.
I'll be here about a second.
I know, exactly.
No more Saws.
I've always really enjoyed, I love Lee, the sound that Lee gets, and my vocal range, I think just really is really nice. It's really compatible. I just
So-
like that sonically, I like that sound.
That's a good preview. What are we going to hear tonight?
Oh, well, we're going to hear some. So right now we haven't written our own music yet. That's kind of we're working towards that. So we're doing covers of other folks' stuff, but it's pretty obscure. Ben, what did you say earlier about our song list?
We were talking about how we categorize ourselves. Usually what I tell people when they ask me the kind of music that my band plays, we usually play your third favorite artist's third most famous song.
That's
Yes, I think
awesome.
that's it. So we're going to be playing a song called The Hangman Song, which will start the set. And that does come originally from the play that we did. So it's pretty dark, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I
the music
I took it from the title.
Yes, yes. So
there's not a lot of cheery hangmen.
No, and it's a band called Puerto Muerto.
Okay.
Did it, and from there we're going to then do Bang Bang.
Okay.
Which most people think of Nancy Sinatra, and then a Richard Hawley song, who is a British singer-songwriter.
Okay.
Has some great music. He also did he had a band that was very different from what he's doing, like with his singer-songwriter stuff, called the Long Pigs. So people may know that. Again, that's going way back. And then we're going to end with a song called He Called Me Baby, which is Katie Stanton. Candy Stanton. I always get that wrong. I mix up my. Thank you, Mel.
And you played at Dorchester this year, first year.
Yep, our first year.
And where else do you play?
Well, it's like I said, we've only been together for a year, so we've done a couple of sets at the little crepe cafe over in Cambridge. Jean Denis, what's Jean Denis' last name?
Joachim. Joachim, yeah.
Joachim.
Jean Denis Joachim.
Joachim, who is he's a poet and an actor, and he opens up his cafe. He does these poetry nights, and he's invited us in to do some sets there.
You said this is in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's if you love crepes, it's
who doesn't love
right,
crepes?
It's a great place to get crepes too. I would love to see him open one here in Dorchester.
Yes, please.
I know, right? We've done a number of Porch Fests now. We did Dorchester, we did Wellfleet, we did Newton. So in each time we play, like we're learning more and more songs.
Yeah,
so we're
of
kind
course.
of getting our repertoire up.
Yeah.
And
Are you from Dorchester?
So not originally. I'm from Western Mass originally.
Okay.
But I've been in Dorchester since the 80s.
Okay.
So,
yeah, well, that counts.
Yeah.
How about the rest of the band?
I'm from the South Shore, Braintree area.
Braintree?
I'm from New Jersey, Jersey Shore, but I've lived in Jamaica Plain for 20 years.
JP, great.
I am from Cambridge in the United Kingdom.
So do you live in Cambridge here?
Actually, yes.
Nice. It's a very smooth transition for you. How about you?
I'm a Boston native. I live in Somerville.
Somerville. Awesome. And Lee?
I'm on the North Shore in Gloucester.
Perfect. Well, we are excited to have you here.
We're excited to
We'll
be here.
get these 4 songs going and give people a taste of the Emberists.
Great.
Perfect.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
Hi, we're the Emberists, and we're going to play some tunes for you. Armageddon time is coming soon. The fires will turn us all into dust, and we will be judged one last time. You, your child, and me. The days will turn dark, you soon will see. Soon we will be running to be free. Pray you run fast so you won't get caught. Pray your mother isn't there to see. Oh, woe is me. The state has put a date on me. We will all be standing in a row, the fires of death chewing at our shoes, and we will be wearing navy blue. All our earthly goods will also lose. Armageddon time is coming soon. The fires will turn us all into dust, and we will be judged one last time. You, your child, and me. Oh, woe is me. The state has put a date on me. Oh, was a little Puerto Muerto for you. And now we're going to do a song that you may recognize. People often think of it as a Nancy Sinatra song, but it was actually originally a Cher song. I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, he used to shoot me down. Seasons came and changed the time. When I grew up, I called him mine. He would always laugh and say, remember when we used to play? Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, he used to shoot me down. Music played and people sang. Just for me the church bells rang. Now he's gone, I don't know why. Until that day sometimes I cry. He didn't even say goodbye. He didn't take the time to lie. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down. My baby shot me down. My baby shot me down. Okay. All right. I'd like to introduce the band while Mal does a little guitar change back there. So here on my right is Michael McCarthy on violin/fiddle. Over here playing electric guitar is David Karimsky. Behind me on drums, Benedict Dawn Cross. Back there on the acoustic guitar is Malachi Connolly. And over here on my left is the wonderful saw player Lee Calabrese. And I am Miss Mary Mack. All right, we got a couple more songs for you guys. The only road I walk alone, where beauty nails me to your cross. Bleeding from my hands and feet, I whisper that my love is lost. I water flowers in the rain. I dance beneath your silver flames, crippled by the sound of love beating in my lonely frame. My lonely frame. So please keep me in your heart. So please closing on your empty face. Maybe soon my luck will change and love will find its resting place. Water flowers in the rain, I dance beneath your silver flames, crippled by the sound of love beating in my lonely frame. My lonely frame. So please keep me in your heart. So please keep me in your heart. So Okay, thank you. That was a Richard Hawley song for those of you that were wondering. And we have one more tune for you. A little bit of a different feel. It's one of our more, I wouldn't say upbeat songs, but a little groovier. It is a Candy Stanton song. He called me baby, baby all night long. Used to hold and kiss me till the dawn. Then one day I awoke and he was gone. There's no more baby all night long. He called me baby all night long. Lord, I feel so empty since he's been gone. Now I lie here and I die here until the dawn. I miss my baby all night long. He called me baby all night long. Kiss my tears away when things went wrong. Oh yeah. Now I lie here and I die here until the dawn. I miss my baby all night long. He called
Thank you for listening to Dot Life, which is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Dot Life is produced and edited by me, Erin Caldwell. Technical and editing support is provided by Yasser Mahmoud. Additional technical support is provided by Ray Lariano. Additional support is provided by the Dorchester Reporter and the Record Company. Thanks to Aliesha Porcena, Linda Dorcena Forry, Bill Forry, Seth Daniel, Yawu Miller, and the Emberists for joining this week's show. Thank you for listening, and we'd love it if you could share, subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, visit .lifepod.com for more information.